A very good evening to you. You're live here on News Tonight on GHOne TV. I am Natalie Fort. Let's start off with a look at our top stories. Coming up tonight, Asantehene Otumfuo Setu II calls for deeper police collaboration with traditional authorities, urging the service to reinforce police values that enhance public trust and police independence.
Drawn between the government and a political party, and I believe both government and the service will find it in their common interest for the police to be manifestly pursuing law enforcement with bias towards none, but without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
Also coming up, just a day before marking a year in office, President Mahama vows to raise Ghana's economy and governance to a level that no succeeding government can reverse.
Build the Ghana we want together if after every regime change, economic development programs are discarded and replaced with entirely new ones.
Also in this broadcast, education think tank IFEST shoots down cautions from opposition NPP to government against scrapping double-track system in senior high schools.
Anything the government wants to do, they are able to do if they commit the resources towards that.
Ahead in business, Central Bank of Ghana hints at review of domestic gold purchase program to ensure its sustainability. And later, we probe U.S. President Donald Trump's foreign policy shockwaves and what it means for global stability and for Africa. The details of these stories and much more news coming up in the next 60 minutes. Tuesday. News Tonight streams live all across the world on Facebook and on X at GHOne TV. A landlady at Agona Nyakrom in the Agona West municipality of the Central Region has died following an alleged assault by her tenant's grandson after a dispute over sanitation. The incident began when the landlady, Madam Charlotte, confronted a tenant for defecating into a polythene bag and leaving it in front of her room. A heated argument later escalated, leading the tenant to call her grandson, identified as Parkwesi. He is alleged to have assaulted Madam Charlotte with a belt. She was first rushed to the Nyakrom Health Center due to complications from high blood pressure. Shortly after, her health deteriorated and she was referred to a government hospital, where she was pronounced dead on arrival. The case has been reported to the Agona Nyakrom Police Command. The suspect is currently on the run, while the body of the deceased has been deposited at the Agona Swedru mortuary for autopsy. No arrest has been made so far. Meanwhile, an eyewitness in an interview with GH1 News' Yao Boajan appealed to the police to do a massive investigation into the matter and arrest the suspects to face the law. In other news, the High Court has deferred judgment in the 10 million cedi defamation suit filed by former National Security Minister Albert Kandapar against activist Oliver Barker-Vormawor. Although the court had earlier fixed today, January 6, 2026, for delivery of judgments, the presiding judge, Justice Reverend Emmanuel Edu Owusu Ajiman, explained that the date falls within the judiciary's New Year vacation. The court noted that while the decision is ready, it cannot be delivered in line with Order 7-9, Rule 4, subsection C of CI 47. Judgment has therefore been pushed forward to a later date. EIB Network's legal affairs correspondent Murtala Inusa reports.
In an all-grey suit the former National Security Minister, Albert Kandapa, appeared at the Law Court complex in Accra, hoping that his defamation action initiated against Oliver Barker-Vormawor would be determined. Rightly so, Justice Joseph Edu Owusu-Agyemang, the presiding judge, indicated that the judgment of the court is ready. However, he is unable to deliver the judgment. The reason is that his attention has been drawn to the fact that the judiciary is still within the New Year holidays as per CI 47, Order 79, Rule 4, Sub Rule C. The courts cannot work on a day like this. Consequently, the decision of the court has to be deferred. The parties, upon looking into their diaries, especially with the court, fixed March 2nd, 2026 to deliver the judgment. The crux of the matter before the court, as per the allegations refuted by the former National Security Minister Albert Kandapa, was to the effect that whatever comments made against him by Oliver defamed him. Per his action, he's seeking the court for recovery of the sum of 10 million Ghana cedis and general damages, including aggravated damages or exemplary damages for the defamation action or the words uttered against him. The former National Security Minister who initiated this action while as a substantive minister is also asking the court, is seeking for an apology, retraction of the works complained about, and among other things, he's also seeking a perpetual injunction restraining Oliver Barker-Vormawor from repeating such defamatory words against him. Until March 2nd, when the court sits and the decision is delivered, both parties will be sitting with bated breath, hoping the decision will go either way. From the Law Court complex here in Accra, Natalie Nusa, GHOne.
In other stories, the Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, has strongly condemned the alleged assault on a class media group journalist by personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service, describing the incident as a grave violation of press freedom and the safety of journalists. Addressing a press conference in Accra, President of the association, Albert Kwabena Jumfor, called for the immediate arrest and prosecution of all persons involved in the attack. He further demanded the dismissal of the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, DO2, Desmond Aka, describing comments attributed to the PRO as unprofessional and an attempt to justify the assault.
Ghana Journalists Association condemns in the strongest possible terms the brutal, unlawful and reprehensible attack on Class FM journalist, Mr. Samuel Addo, allegedly perpetrated by personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service during a fire outbreak at the Kasua market in the Central Region on Sunday, January 4, 2026. This attack is not only an assault on an individual journalist, but a direct attack on media freedom. We demand for police action and institutional accountability. The GJA calls on the Inspector General of Police, who has shown so much professionalism, commitment towards the safety of journalists over the past few months, to immediately cause the arrest, thorough investigation and prosecution of all personnel involved in this criminal act. The GJA is appalled and deeply concerned by the wobbling, weak and wholly unacceptable defense put forward by the Ghana National Fire Service through its public relations officer. He is unfit to be in charge of communication for that unit. He has demonstrated unprofessionalism, he has demonstrated incompetence that I don't think that the media ever deal with him. So if the fire service, the Ghana National Fire Service, wants to really have a very good working relationship with the media, they should find somebody who is professional, who has the competencies, who has the capacity and temperature to accommodate the media.
You're live on News Tonight on GHOne TV. Asantehene Otumfuo II has urged the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete GHOne, to strengthen public confidence in the police to improve national security. Speaking during a historic courtesy visit to the IGP on Tuesday, January 6, 2026, the Asantehene called for closer collaboration between police and traditional leaders, while emphasizing the need to keep the service free from political influence.
Society where values are strong, the police officer is not viewed as an adversary, but as a partner. The uniform commands respect not because it carries force, but because it represents shared principles. Our visit today sets us up on a journey towards crystallizing the alignment of values and sends a powerful national message. The tradition and modern law enforcement are not rivals struggling for relevance. They are collaborators safeguarding the same future.
GHOne.
Let chiefs serve as allies in community policing. Let officers be trained to understand the customs of the people they protect. Let dialogue precede deployment and mediation precede confrontation. This is not softness, it is intelligence. As we embark on this journey together, we will urge you, IGP, and your devoted colleagues, to seriously tackle issues affecting police integrity and public trust. It may well be necessary to reinforce or upskill the values you include in your men, so they are left in no doubt. Whatever they do which compromises the integrity of the police also dishonor the uniform and the coat of arms they bear. I also hope that you work towards making the service politically neutral. There will always be one government responsible for the state of Ghana, and as the police service of the state, you are sworn to be unalloyed in your loyalty to the government. But there must be a line drawn between the government and a political party, and I believe both government and the service will find it in their common interest for the police to be manifestly pursuing law enforcement with bias towards none, but without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
Let's stay on this issue. Joining us via phone is security analyst Victor Doku. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, you heard the Asantehene speaking there, decrying the declining trust in the police service. From where you sit, what cues do you think that the police service can take from this to increase and deepen public trust in the service?
Thank you very much. Okay. So back to your question. This historic becomes one that would put all of it into the aspect of knowing the importance of tradition when it comes to security. Traditional leaders, okay, or you can say community leaders, play an important role when it comes to security. What the King has done is to re-echo that long lost, aspect of collaboration when it comes to security, and to reiterate the aspect of involving these, essential stakeholders into this spectrum for, enhanced harmony. So I think from where I sit, I look in a very positive way. That this should not be a sort of its kind, but going forward, we should see more. Not only a moral boost, reminder of shared responsibility when it comes to peace and security. Because as we know, our traditional leaders, custodians of the land, are also the security heads in their various communities. If you look at the traditional aspects of security, with regards to the role they play in their various enclaves. So the reiteration by the King for this cooperation will help address local conflicts, crimes, and threats that we, face.
Right. Another issue that the Asantehene reiterated was the need to separate the police from politics. Why do we find that there is that intersection between the police service and politics, and how can we ensure that this is indeed achieved?
I once said that you can't separate security from politics. The two go hand in hand. If you want to separate the two, there remains good and needful, and that means we have to revise our law. We do that. It can't be done. We can only talk about federalism and neutrality aspect for the two together. If we want to look at situation, but as I said, within the rules and the laws, and these institutions will have their own model in regards to the tenure of society, and then it will trigger through to every institution, not the space, every institution, and by that we can say that the political and of the security space, and then doing the appointments of the rules that have been presented to them.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your insights this evening. Victor Doku, security analyst, joining us on that issue and charge made by the Asantehene. You're still live here on News Tonight on GH1 TV. We bring you insight next. Tonight on Insight, President John Dramani Mahama says he is determined to make his second term count, pledging to raise the bar of governance so high that any future administration cannot reverse it. The president says his focus is on implementing strong, lasting reforms that will strengthen institutions, accelerate development, and leave a legacy of stability and progress beyond his tenure. He made these remarks during the 77th Annual New Year School at the University of Ghana, Legon. Presidential Affairs correspondent Abdul Hanan Adam has more in this report.
The 77th Annual New Year School and Conference of the University of Ghana was opened under the theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development. This year's discussions brought together policymakers, academia, civil society groups and development partners with a focus on sustainable economic growth, environmental protection, social inclusion, and institutional reforms needed to secure a resilient future for the country. President John Mahama in his address said his focus on implementing far-reaching reforms and pledge to raise Ghana's economy and governance standards to a new height that no succeeding government can reverse.
We cannot build the Ghana we want if the progress made under one regime is reversed under another. Our economic development programs must be medium to long term. We cannot build the Ghana we want together if after every regime change, economic development programs are discarded and replaced with entirely new ones. Our progress as a nation must transcend political seasons. And this is why I've decided to make this second mandate, so graciously granted to me by Ghanaians, count. I've pledged to raise our economy and governance to a level that no succeeding government can reverse.
He further gave a firm assurance that his government would maintain strict fiscal discipline and efficient economic management, insisting that these measures will not be relaxed even in the election year.
In a region where democracy is backsliding, we must demonstrate that democracy works and that our people can have faith in their leaders to uphold their interests and create opportunities for national prosperity. I can assure Ghanaians also that we will not relax the current fiscal discipline and efficient management of the economy, even in the election year of 2028.
Meanwhile, keynote speaker and renowned economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson applauded the government for restoring fiscal discipline and economic stability in the last 1 year since assuming office. However, he warned that Ghana's quest for a sustainable economy will be undermined if skilled technicians continue to be undervalued in favor of white-collar professions.
University curricula should not be written in isolation by professors. They must be co-created with industry bodies. And we must execute a massive pivot to technical and vocational education and training. The development of this country will not be built by lawyers, by sociologists, and political scientists alone. It will be built by welders, mechatronics engineers, agronomists, and toolmakers. And this mindset must be reset. A skilled technician in a reset Ghana should command as much respect and pay as a bank manager.
The New Year School remains a critical platform for shaping policy ideas that promote long-term development and national cohesion. The forum is expected to conclude with recommendations aimed at guiding government actions and strengthening Ghana's commitment to sustainable development. Reporting for GHOne News, Abdelhanan Adam, Legon.
Tomorrow, 7th January, marks the first anniversary of President John Dramani Mahama's tenure. Assessing his administration's performance, former CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Kofi Ofosu Nkansa, says the performance of the Mahama-led administration so far has been dissatisfying. Speaking on GH today, he said major campaign trump cards such as the 24-hour economy and chip compounds have still not been completed.
Look at their major job creation interventions. GHOne, GHOne apprenticeship program, 1 million coders. If you look at the target they set for themselves for the 4-year period and what they achieved, 1 out of the 4 years, it is unsatisfactory. Because if you say, for instance, that you are going to train 1 million coders in a 4-year period, you expect that if you do the prorating, you have a target of 250,000 per year. So even if you are not able to do that and you do some 50,000 or 100,000, you will say that you started well. But we didn't see that happening. And it's across. It was late 2025, just when the president was about to, or the finance minister was about to present the budget, that they rushed to Kumasi to launch in GHOne. I don't know how many day or checks have been distributed nationwide to the young people of Ghana. You know, that's why I'm saying that there was this inertia to spend in the very first year, and it cut across all the sectors.
Well, joining us now via phone is Dr. Paul Abrampa Mensah, Programs Manager for Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, varied reactions to the performance of the president and the entire administration within the first year. What do you make of the president's performance after 1 year in office? In your view, have the promises made been delivered, or is it still too early?
Yes, good evening, and let me also say a very good evening to people watching the GHOne TV this evening. As we did the assessment before we went on break, I think nothing has changed. I still maintain the position that the structures have been laid, and it's too early for any effective assessment of performance. However, when you look into the social contract as espoused by the president to be achieved within the 120 days, most of them have been worked on, either launched or in implementation stage, while the basic promise of scrapping taxes have been achieved, including the A-levy, the COVID-19 health recovery levy, and others, emission levies, and others has been done. I also heard arguments which, of course, also needs to be considered. Also, on the other hand, other taxes that have been introduced. People argue that those taxes are basically for corporate bodies. The argument is, if corporate bodies are taxed, are we going to have the reciprocal effects on consumption and also on production? So there are some of the things. Also, you are following the debate of fee-free for first-year university students as against proposed fee increases by the university, especially University of Ghana. So as I said, it's early years now, because when you review taxes, people will assess its impact and the activities they are doing to respond appropriately, whether they will comply with the tax revision or will also respond to additional avenues for generating money. So in that sense, you have it. On something like the 24-hour economy, it has been launched. Budgetary allocations have been made. We are yet to see how the implementation starts. The same thing as to the Women Development Bank. And so I can say for the first year, with the exception of scrapping of taxes, all others have been laying of structures for implementation in subsequent years. So effective assessment could be done from here onwards.
Right. Now, you say nothing has changed. The foundations have been laid and it is too early to tell or to overly assess. However, there were some key promises made by the government. As you rightly mentioned, some have been implemented. And one key one was the 24-hour economy. And that, I believe, has been a major concern on the minds of many Ghanaians, that we haven't seen that begin. What do you have to say as it pertains to that? Because this was the key campaign promise of the administration.
There seems to be some noise at the background, so I hardly hear you.
I hope you're hearing me better now.
Okay, sure.
So I'm asking, in spite of the fact that you mentioned that the foundations have been laid and it's too early to assess, one key promise made by the administration ahead of taking office was the 24-hour economy. That has been a concern to many Ghanaians because it hasn't quite begun. What's your response as it pertains to that? Do you think that by this time there should be more that has been done in that regard, with regards to that promise?
Well, so it's part of the assessment that we made earlier on. So one of the footings of the foundations for 24-hour economy, as promised by the president during his campaign, was to consider the use of electricity at specific periods. For example, low tax rates of use of electricity in the evening. But you're also aware of electricity and water tariff increases by the PRC in 2026. That's why I said that because the program has not started, you will not be able to assess whether the promise is going to be made to counteract the increases that are coming, or is going to be factored in even if the increases are accepted. But for now, yes, the campaign has been launched. According to the minister, some infrastructure works are being done, and it is expected to take off fully. Alongside that, then we are also assessing if indeed we are going to have tariffs decreases, especially electricity tariffs in the evenings. How is that going to also relate to the recent PRC increases of electricity and water? So this assessment will be better made after we've made the stronger implementation steps to know the impact of some of these counter relations. Of one hand, reducing tariffs, especially at night, and on the other hand, the regulatory body also increasing tariffs at the same time.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time and insight this evening. Joining us here on News Tonight, Dr. Paul Abrampa-Mensah, Programs Manager for the CDD, Center for Democratic Development, joining us there. That wraps up Insights for tonight. News Tonight on GHOne TV. Let's turn to some other stories this evening. Frustration is mounting at the VIP terminal at GHOne Nkrumah Circle in Accra, where scores of passengers have been stranded for hours while waiting to board buses to their various destinations. Tempers are flaring as the delays persist, with travellers complaining about poor communication from terminal operators and growing uncertainty over when the buses will eventually depart.
I'm standing here at the VIP terminal at GHOne Nkrumah Circle, where passengers are stranded after hours of their scheduled time. Well, frustrations are mounting as travelers are uncertain as to whether they're going to make it to their destination.
I've been in the queue for about more than 3-4 hours, feeling so tired. It's very, very boring. I don't feel like even coming to Accra because nowadays it seems you'll be in the queue and it seems the line is not going and drivers who are not helping us.
I'm going to Kumasi, but I'm going to Aguna Jamasi side. It's not easy. With the baby, it's not easy at all.
So got here like 2 hours ago.
The general manager of VIP Transport Service at Dakar in Paul Manson revealed that the delay is as a result of congestion created by private vehicles entering the terminal to drop off people to board their buses.
70% of persons coming into our terminal to do business or to travel come with either their own personal saloon cars or hayride cars. So we have a lot of cars in the enclave coming to the VIP terminal. And also those dealing with cargo or the haulage, they also come in with the mini buses trying to also bring their people. So that has created a lot of challenge.
Adakabri further emphasized that regardless of the delay, passengers will get to travel to their destinations, noting that the Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service has deployed personnel to assist with traffic flow and security.
When the person tends to bring his or her ward into the terminal and comes in with their private car, you can't stop them. All we can do, we are grateful to the Motor Transport and Traffic Department of the Ghana Police Service, Kanishi and Accra Central, who have detailed persons in our terminal to help move about easily. As the bus also encounters traffic challenges in coming to the terminal, obviously more persons would have arrived in the terminal before the coach gets in. So you have the numbers piling up, but we have the coaches. Ultimately, nobody sleeps here at VIP. Nobody will be told to go back and come back the next day.
As passengers continue to wait anxiously, management of VIP Transport assures that measures are being put in place to ease congestion and ensure travelers reach their destinations.
Reporting for GHOne News, Star FM, Khadija Idi.
More on that subsequently. You're still live here on News Tonight. We bring you business news next.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Tonight in business, the Bank of Ghana says it will engage independent experts to strengthen the long-term sustainability of its domestic gold purchase program, an intervention it credits with supporting the cedi on the foreign exchange market. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiema, says the planned review will allow for evidence-based analysis and the inclusion of diverse professional perspectives to ensure the program continues to serve the national interest.
As you will remember, the domestic gold purchase program was introduced at a moment of acute vulnerability. And this was when foreign exchange buffers became thin and confidence was fragile. Its purpose was clear, and this was to strengthen reserves, stabilize the currency, and create space for macroeconomic recovery by leveraging Ghana's own natural endowment. So, judged against this stabilization objective, the program has played a vital role. It is also important to be candid that this stability came at a cost. Since the setup of the DGPP, which composed of the G4O, the G4 Forex, or the G4R, the Bank of Ghana has had to carry the financial burden of such a national strategic policy. one that sought to restore confidence and protect the wider economy. Indeed, that was a deliberate choice taken in the national interest. However, national priorities do not stand still, and neither should policies that support them. And in that spirit, the Bank of Ghana, working with the Gold Board and the Ministry of Finance, we intend to convene a focused policy workshop with experts, with market practitioners, and policymaker best practices elsewhere.
In some more business news, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, says vehicle owners who registered vehicles in 2026 would have to do a radio frequency identification registration after the legislative rollout of the scheme. However, the registrants will not need to pay for registration again. However, they would only need to do so for the plate. The DVLA earlier suspended the rollout originally scheduled for January 2, 2026 due to the failure to secure necessary amendments to the Road Traffic Regulation of 2012 LI 2180, which specifies the contents and format of vehicle plates. Speaking on GH Today, Deputy Director of Vehicle Inspection and Registration, Kwesi Bona Otuo Suribor, said 2026 registrants on the current system will be called for appointments to ensure smooth rollout of the service nationwide.
We will not automatically roll you onto the RFID chip embedded plate or the new system. We would ask you to come to the appointment, as I mentioned, but if you come, DVLA is not going to charge you for re-registering the vehicle. However, you would pay for the plate because the cost of the plate, the new plate, is quite higher than the cost of the old plate. So you pay for the cost of the plate. But for all the services that we render, that we have charged you service charge for registering your vehicle already, we will not charge you service charges for it. You will only be charged for the cost of the plate.
And that's it for the business segments this evening.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
And some more local stories in education. The Institute for Education Studies, IFEST, has dismissed claims that ending the double-track system under the Free SHS initiative this year is unfeasible. Concerns were raised by former CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Kofi Ofosu Nkansa, who warned that the move could limit access to Category A and B schools. However, IFEST Executive Director Peter Ante says with strong government commitments, the system can be successfully phased out without disenfranchising students.
It depends on the commitment level of the government in that perspective. Anything the government wants to do, they are able to do if they commit the resources towards that. And we all know that the double track is simply because of infrastructure challenges. And if they are able to expand the infrastructure in most of the schools that are running double track now, it means that they are going to do a single track. And so it is possible, so far as they are committed to pushing resources in expanding infrastructure in those schools. If a school is running double track, it means that there are two streams of students. If the government is able to provide enough dormitories and classrooms, both streams can come at the same time. And it means that they are not going to be in the house whilst others are in school. That is how you end double track. So it's a matter of expanding the infrastructure. And we are aware that the Minister of Education announced that this year they are going to upgrade 30 Category C schools to Category B, and then upgrade 10 Category B schools to Category A, and then expand infrastructure in additional 10 expand infrastructure in Category A schools. So if this is done, then it means that there will be enough space to accommodate everybody at a go and not for others to come and others to stay in the house.
The sports segment comes up next on News Tonight with Benjamin Yamwa.
And you're welcome to sports. Of course, AFCON is ongoing and it's buzzing. But let's begin with some news involving Ghanaian player Antoine Semenyo, who is rumored to be on the verge of signing for Man City from Bournemouth, his current football club. And his manager, Andoni Areola, has been speaking about how professional the player has been, notwithstanding all the rumors on his potential move from his team Bournemouth to Man City. They play tomorrow against Tottenham Hotspurs, which possibly could be his last game he plays for Bournemouth.
Yeah. Oh, yes. A lot of people are wondering whether this is his last.
There is nothing signed with Antoine Semenyo. If you ask me personally, what do you think? With all the noise and this, I think could be the last game. But I cannot guarantee it. You know, it's like my personal opinion. Because I understand the market, I understand the noise.
On Star FM's Sports Digest, a sports journalist revealed the current players in the national team of Nigeria are bent on appeasing Nigerians back home with a front trophy after failing to qualify for the World Cup.
That I strongly believe that this squad will win the Africa Cup of Nations. You know, everybody thought I was going stark crazy, but there is something about this team that shows a desire. And like I said before, it's all down to the manager. And I think that having lost out on qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, all of the players know that Nigerians are waiting for this tournament. Nothing short of the AFCON title will be good enough. But these set of boys have to prove themselves to Nigerians because they don't want to go down as the only, presumably the only Nigerian sets that will fail to qualify for a FIFA World Cup twice in a row and then not win the Africa Cup of Nations. I mean, Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Alex Iwobi, you know, all of their reputation will go down the drain if they're not able to accomplish something. And age is not on their side. You know, the younger ones are looking to take over that responsibility. So for them, I'm hoping that this would be, for some of them, a swan song, you know, where they win the Cup of Nations and then they can retire knowing that, look, we gave our best and our best definitely was good enough for the country. So I believe that the Super Eagles can go all the way.
Very interesting happenings in Morocco with the Nations Cup. And then sports. Up next is international news.
In recent weeks, the global balance of power has faced renewed tests. In the Western Hemisphere, the United States launched an unprecedented military operation in Venezuela, resulting in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro on narcotics trafficking charges. The move signals a renewed U.S. willingness to intervene, even indirectly, in the affairs of sovereign states. Following the operation, President Donald Trump warned that this could be just the beginning, hinting a potential follow-up actions in countries including Cuba, Colombia, Mexico, Iran, and even Greenland. Analysts say these events reflect the collision of major power strategic posturing with local conflicts and fragile state structures worldwide. But what does this mean for Africa and the sovereignty of states across the continent? Joining us via Zoom is GHOne LeBlanc, national security law and U.S. foreign policy expert, as well as former U.S. Congress staff, to discuss what these moves mean for global order and how African states should prepare and respond. GHOne, thank you for joining us here on News Tonight on GH1 TV. Now, does Trump's remarks on Venezuela and Greenland, does it indicate a shift back, really, towards the days of territorial and economic cohesion? And from a national security law perspective, are we witnessing an erosion of post-World War II international order? How dangerous is that?
Thank you so much, Natalie, for having me. First and foremost, I think it's important for us to consider the national security strategy that was shared by the Trump administration, essentially indicating that it will reassert power and authority within the Western Hemisphere under the Monroe Doctrine. So none of us here should be concerned. So just as much as the capture of former President Maduro was about oil resources in the country, but it was also about power. It was also about reminding other America's adversaries like China and Russia, don't you dare come into our backyard. And we have to understand that Venezuela, under the leadership of President Maduro, was a very key country in the Beltway initiative by the Chinese government, which China has invested a great deal amount of money in putting into place, right? So I think that, yes, it is concerning, because if this could happen to former President Maduro, it could happen to other countries around the world, right? What about South Africa? What about Nigeria?
Absolutely, GHOne, and we will get to that, the impact, potential impact on Africa. But briefly, is this even right in international law for the leader of one of the largest countries and most strongest countries in the world to attack a sovereign state in this manner? Is it something that should be permitted? And why are we not seeing such strong reactions in terms of an international law perspective and institutions in that regard?
First and foremost, I think it's important for us to remember the U.S. has done this before. We did this in Panama in 1989 when we arrested the president of Panama. And this was done without congressional approval under the Bush administration. But what is different here is President Maduro was an elected president by the people of Venezuela. Even though 60 countries, including the United States, did not recognize Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela, but nonetheless, he had a government, right? Whereas in the Panama case, the president was a military ruler. So that's one of the main distinctions. But I think that this situation should cause countries around the world to look at what is the role of multilateral organizations when they can't even provide you with security. We see that countries around the world attend UNGA, attend the BRICS conference, attend U.S. Africa-Russia conferences, U.S. Africa-China conferences, and so on. So what is the role of multilateralism if your security cannot be guaranteed? So I think at this moment, at this time, countries need to reassess and to reevaluate their role in these multilateral organizations.
Right, GHOne. Now, finally, what precedent does this set for other countries that might have expansionist goals and desires? And you highlight Africa. Sometime late 2025, we had President Trump yet again in Nigeria call for that attack on Islamic State within northern Nigeria. How concerning should that be, and how prepared should Africa be? Our Foreign Affairs Ministry has spoken against the recent action of President Trump in Venezuela. What more can Africa do to be prepared?
I think, first and foremost, President Trump usually tells you what he's going to do next. He's already said Greenland is next. And I think that when you look at the Russia and Ukraine crisis, the conflict between those two countries, I think what happened in Venezuela would give China and would give Russia more of a legal premise to further go after the territory that it is claiming in Russia. And also when you look at China and Taiwan, China is claiming the Taiwanese territory, right? So I think all of these actions are further pushing countries that have expansionist views to move forward with these ideas, with these pursuits. However, when it comes to the African continent, in a time when the world is becoming more and more protectionist, in a time when policies seem to undermine the sovereignty of nations that are even stronger than some of the nations on the African continent, now is the time for the African continent to unite, because individually you will not be able to fight a superpower like the United States. Right. But collectively, it is your only chance and your only opportunity. So now is the time for the African continent to unite so that it can protect its respective sovereignty.
GHOne LeBlanc, thank you so much for your time this evening, speaking on News Tonight's national security, law, and U.S. foreign policy experts joining us on that issue. And that is how we draw the curtains on News Tonight this evening here on GH1 TV. Many thanks to you for making the time. It was produced by Emmanuel Ejabing. From Natalie Fort, and the entire team, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful and restful evening.